Beyond 3D.
Welcome, folks, to this week's edition of Beyond 3D. Matt and Clint here. Hopefully you all have had a great week. We are really looking forward to spending some time with you. So start off first and foremost, Clint, how have you been this week?
Anytime I need to see your face, I just close my eyes and I'm taken to a place where your crystal mind and magenta feelings take up shelter in the base of my spine, smell like a chikatiri cola.
Continue.
I've had that song stuck in my head for about a week. Savage Garden, I Want You.
I was trying to think of the name of the song as you were saying that, so it ultimately came to me.
It's kind of...
I can hear the ooh-ah.
It's like two big petty special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun.
One of those type things.
One of those type of things,
Well, guys, it's been a fascinating week this week, so we're back here on Beyond 3D, and quite frankly, I think most people are out there looking at what's going on in the United States politically. We'll get into that in a minute, but I think most importantly, starting off with something positive, from a spiritual aspect, this was the week going by of Guru Purnima, and one of the nicest, biggest, brightest, most beautiful full moons you would ever want to see anywhere in and around the peninsula area of Australia and other places around the world. Fascinating.
I was driving and I came over a hill in the middle, as probably about an hour into the moon rising, and I hadn't seen it yet. I came over the hill and there it was, and I just went, whoa, that's massive.
Massive, yeah, absolutely. Got phone calls about it saying, have you seen the moon yet? And we said no, and they said, well, get in your car and do yourself a favor, take a drive. And my wife said, well, which way should we go? I said, well, head east. It'll be rising that way. And we just headed east. You just look up and bang, there it was sitting there. You couldn't, believe me, you could not miss it. Fascinating, beautiful time. But from a spiritual standpoint, Guru Purnima, celebrating the Guru of the Masters, and that's a really auspicious time in a lot of religious circles, especially in Buddhism and Hinduism and Jainism, so in the East Asian countries along those lines. And so that in and of itself was really good, and quite frankly, based upon what's going on worldwide, we really do need that kind of energy coming into this planet and really cleansing the world of a lot of the negativities going on out there, because there have been a whole lot of nastiness going on, especially in political circles. So I hope everybody out there enjoyed that full moon. If you didn't get to see it, I think you missed something worthwhile. So and we always do say this here a few times, well, not always, but we've said this a few times before. You guys need to look up into the sky and literally look what's out there and wonder at what's going on in the galaxy and the universe. It's fascinating stuff. Absolutely fascinating stuff. So, Clint, I'm going to have to get into this sooner or later, so we might as well make it sooner.
We're going politics.
I have no choice at this point in time. I think it's a very important situation right now in the States. We've finished here, and now they will get into their respective corners and come out fighting, as in the Labour and the Liberals, and do their thing. They're all looking to see what a certain senator from Queensland will end up doing, and there's been a lot of other certain things going on that are going to...
Hang on, whoa. Certain who from Queensland?
Senator?
Are we talking
Red hair?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We don't have senators.
You have a Senate?
Yeah, but they're not called senators.
What are they called? Morons.
Morons.
Okay, back to politics. Well, basically, we're doing well here in Australia. Everybody will get together and they will do their usual fighting and things like that. But in the United States, yesterday, getting back to politics, we'll settle into everything that's going on in Australia, and they will get to their respective corners and do their thing. But in the United States, we, yesterday, had the acceptance speech of the Republican nominee for president, one Donald J. Trump. And it caused, many different emotions, I would say. The whole week of the Republican convention in Cleveland was an absolute show. It was a treat to watch. If you are a fan of watching journalists fight and yell and scream at each other, it reminded me of Australian politics back in the late 90s going into 2000. It was really fun.
It's like watching those parliaments in the Philippines when they fight.
Or in Taiwan, all of a sudden a fist fight breaks out in the middle of Parliament. Absolutely. It's one of those things, but this was happening amongst the media because we have two news media outlets in the United States. One is Fox News, which is controlled by Rupert Murdoch and his family, and they are conservative, and the other one is CNN, which was formerly Ted Turner's company, but that is more on the side of the Democratic Party. So depending on which one you were looking at, you got a totally different viewpoint of what was going on in Cleveland.
You wouldn't watch Fox if you were a Democrat, and you wouldn't watch CNN if you were a Republican. So you're going to get the news feed that you're aligned to anyway. So you're only going to be told stuff either you already know or that you subscribe to.
Well, people with warped minds like myself like to do the opposite. And if I'm a person that's of the Republican Party, I would watch CNN to see what the Democrats were saying about the Republicans. But it was fascinating. We started off with a plagiarized speech.
That was insane.
Oh, look, the insane bit about it was you don't take anything away from the ladies. Think about it, guys. You're making a speech in front of an audience on television of at least 30 million people and 10,000 people in a hall. You can't take anything away from the way the speech was delivered. So Donald Trump's wife did a very good job of delivering the speech. Yes, it was plagiarized from Michelle Obama's 2008 speech. The thing that struck me the most was the fact that the Republicans and Donald Trump have been saying that Hillary Clinton is a criminal. Hillary Clinton is a liar.
True,
and these are the things that, but these are the things that they're saying. Now, if you're going to say that about somebody, the worst thing you could do is have your campaign manager come out and tell two bold-faced lies to a national audience on television.
What were those bold-faced lies, Matt?
The bold-faced lies was the fact that Melania Trump did not lift anything from Barack Obama's wife, Michelle's speech from 2008.
Pause. That's a true statement. Because do you honestly believe that woman wrote that speech herself?
Well, this is the game politicians play.
And I play this game better than anybody. It's all in the fine details. It's what you don't say. It's not what you do say. So if she's come out and said, I did not lift anything from that speech, it's because technically, read between the lines, she didn't write it. So therefore, she didn't commit the offense.
No, but here's the other bit of it, because what they then did was go and show a video recording of her and Donald Trump on a plane. And on that plane, they asked her about the speech, and she said that she did write it. And she said that she only looked at it one time and that it was going to be great, etc., etc., etc. So they brought that point up as well. But if you take the words of the campaign manager, who's Paul Manafort, and listen to what he said, I think you're correct, Clint. He basically said that she would never do anything like that, but that does not mean a speechwriter wouldn't.
And we don't even know if the speechwriter really exists, do we?
Exactly, we don't know. But they had a speechwriter on last night at the end of Donald Trump's speech to accept to go over and to analyze what was going on, because they wanted to make sure that something else like that wouldn't happen.
If anybody hasn't seen it,
they can get on YouTube and you can definitely take a look at what's going on there.
And there's a clip where Michelle Obama's speech runs parallel, and it's almost word for word.
And
the cadence is almost the same.
Absolutely, and I have it up on the Facebook page as well. Going back a few days, I'm going to have to put it up again, because as soon as I saw it, I immediately put it up on our Facebook page on Beyond 3D, so you can look at that again. The second bold-faced lie was the fact that was around Governor Kasich of Ohio and what was going on with behind the scenes, whether he was going to come to the convention and speak at the convention or not. And they once again quoted the campaign manager saying a certain phrase. You can look that up on YouTube. And then even though they played the tape of him saying it, he looked directly into the television camera and denied that he said anything like that. And so it left the anchor flabbergasted, to say the least. It was absolutely hilarious to watch. And they talked about this fact, and he said, you know something? And this, I think, is very important for anybody out there. It was a little thing in a sense. All they had to do was say, yes, she was inspired by the speech prior and decided to put a few things in, and it would have gone away. But the fact that, like Donald Trump, you never admit when you're wrong, and if anybody accuses you of anything, you go on the offensive and deny, it built up and it lasted for a 36-hour period, which is a very long period of time when you consider it was only a 4-day convention.
I think George Costanza said it best. It's not a lie if you believe it to be true.
But that literally became, as the convention went on, that became a backstory because of the other infighting that was going on. And I know it's hard for us in Australia to really get into American politics because it just totally looks wacky in many instances. But do yourself a favor. A little bit of study goes a long way. It'll really explain what's going on over there as far as politics is concerned. If you take a look a couple of nights ago with Donald Trump's acceptance speech and see the way it was received, even by the Republican Party, of which he is now the nominee, it was divisive. It was really confrontational. It was fear-mongering, according to some of the senators and according to some of the congressmen, and a lot of people were disenfranchised, to say the least, and quite angry and upset.
The man wants to build a wall.
He mentioned that.
So how much more?
Quite heavily.
How much more fear-mongering can you get than I want to build a wall?
He wants to build a wall. He insulted the Chinese. He insulted NATO. He insulted just about everybody you can possibly insult. And he said, and I think this is really important, and there was a picture that was put up that literally reminded me of one of those rallies in Germany around the 1930s where you see him with the big name up behind him, and he's just lauding over everyone, and you just went, wow.
Biff Tanen. He is Biff Tanen in that alternate.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Alternate year that Marty goes to. You know when Biff Tannen's got the casino and...
wait a minute. Who else said something happened with that?
What?
I think Coldplay was on stage and Michael J. Fox came on stage and actually did the songs from the movie Back to the Future about maybe a week ago maximum in order to go over that again and repeat what was going on with that. It was fascinating, being that you mentioned Biff. So it was fun was had by all at the Republican convention, and guess what? They get to do it all again because the Democratic one is coming up next week. So that's enough of the politicking end of it. You will hear a heck of a lot more about it because it's got another 3 months to go.
And that's why I'm sitting here saying nothing, because I already know how all this is going to play out.
On this show, you guys know this, Clint has already stated what was going to happen, and it's all, the rest of it is all fluff. So
it's all stocking filler. That's all this stuff is just, I avoid it. I'm avoiding it all intentionally.
I just find it absolutely fascinating to see just how low people can stoop. It's amazing to me to watch this kind of stuff. It's fun.
I said this to you today.
Yes.
If they can orchestrate 9/11,
yes,
they can orchestrate a political
absolutely
campaign where that's rigged.
Well, I can agree with that.
Beyond 3.
But do people realize that if they are electing Donald Trump, really the people who are going to be running the country are douchebag
Right. That's exactly what.
Thurston shitbag the third.
And this is what's going to happen on inaugural day. He's going to walk into the White House and go, "What a dump!" And he's like, "I'm not going to live in a little house like this." And he's going to say, "You kids live here. I'm going to go buy an estate out in Fairfax."
He wanted to have the vice president run the country.
Right, he said, apparently, Don Jr. said to John Kasich, "Would you like to be vice president? You can be in charge of domestic affairs and foreign affairs.
Yeah.
You know, all of it." He's doing the work in Washington. Trump is standing at the wall. Make it higher!
People are in denial, I think, about this, but the chance of him winning is really, really good.
I agree. Ghostwriter of the best-selling The Art of the Deal, Tony Schwartz. I wrote Art of the Deal. Donald Trump read it. I find that hard to believe.
He doesn't care about anyone.
You know him personally. You spent a lot of time.
I spent 18 months following this man around.
Okay. But is there this other Trump?
There is no other Trump. I am here because Donald Trump has successfully muzzled now for 20, 25 years all of those people who know who he actually is. I started this book before he started building these incredible confidentiality agreements that did effectively muzzle people.
And he's suing you.
He's suing me. I knew he would sue me.
Join the club.
I can say with great confidence Donald Trump has not read a book other than those written for him in his adult life. That's a very... No, but I don't say that jokingly.
No.
He has an incredibly short attention span. I'm not here to diagnose what that means, but he is incapable of absorbing information for very long.
Can I say this? When you say that he hasn't read a book in his adult life, you've just described the majority of Americans.
Look,
and we had 8 years of it.
I'm sure you're right. There are plenty of people who don't read. However, I don't think that most people in the end want somebody in that office who is really ignorant.
Because his skin is so thin, this is the way to bring him down. If during the debate, if Hilary, seriously, if you and I had an hour with her in debate prep, we would give her the comedy shiv. Well, it just needs to go underneath the skin.
The one thing I love about Bill Maher and that show is the irreverence that is shown, but you will find that a lot of this, you know what that is? That was very mild, because quite frankly, it's going to get a lot worse over the next 3 months. But here's a very important point, and I think, Clint, we have discussed this over the period of years. Michael Moore is very, very to the left in politics.
Yes, he is.
I mean, bowling for Columbine, etc., the things that he has done. And for him to say what he stated shows just how dire the situation is over there right now, which is really a shame. It's amazing what's going on over there.
It's almost like organized collapse.
Well, that's what they're basically... Well, that's what some people are saying. Certain conspiracy theorists that live in Texas and have their own InfoWars show. That's the whole point. This is a planned collapse of the United States of America to lead to world government.
Do you think the preppers are all checking their cans?
Yes.
They're all checking their cans?
Yes, and that person down in Texas, who I happen to love the show. It's absolutely fascinating. But
what show are you talking about?
Alex Jones.
Oh, sorry.
The thing about it is this. What happened is he has gone all in, as a lot of broadcasters have, to be on the side of Trump. You cannot do that at the expense of the truth.
I'll tell you why he's done that. He's got two options to choose from.
Yeah.
Now, Alex has probably for the last 4 years bashed Hilary non-stop. Everything from Benghazi.
What else has she done? Email scandals.
How many emails? Was it 70,000?
A whole lot that they shredded, which shouldn't have been shredded. Yeah. All kinds of stuff like that. Benghazi. Then they take it back to the fact that she was Bill Clinton's enabler.
Mm-hmm.
With all of the sexual molestations and the reasons he was impeached. And going back even further to Watergate times.
And everything in between. And the millions and millions of dollars that she's allegedly stolen and siphoned into her political fund.
Selling political favor, etc., etc. So, yeah, he has... So all of a sudden, here comes someone that he believes can rid him of that burden and prove what was going on. So that's why he's probably in there really swinging for the fences, so to speak, to get her removed. I always laugh at it because based upon what we know and what you have stated a couple of times, and I happen to quite frankly agree with you, I just wonder what country these guys are going to live in
when she takes control.
When she takes control
of the world, yeah, there's not really going to be much of a rock any of these guys can hide. They won't be
able to hide.
No.
And payback is a you-know-what. So they had better...
female dog.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. So they had better hope for the best because, quite frankly, they better pray for a miracle because, quite frankly, it's not going to be pretty.
I can't see anything ending on a happy note here.
And that's really a shame.
Isn't it?
Because that means all the people lose out. And they're going to lose out worldwide. If you have Donald Trump in, it's going to cause rift with China. It's going to cause a rift with the Middle East, even bigger than it is now. It's going to cause a rift in Europe. They are going to go to a more isolationist stance like they haven't been in the last 70 or so years. And that's going to really be a shame. They are trying to... And, this was the other point I wanted to make with all of this, because I look at all of this stuff. And then what you'll do is you'll go home and you'll do a meditation or a contemplation, and you will rise above all of this, and all of a sudden you will start to look at the universe and the galaxies and all the things that are really going on, and you begin to see that all of this is a ruse and a blind that stops us as individuals from evolving.
I was just about to say growing.
And this is the thing. We get bogged down with trivial matters and people fighting over stuff. And the most important thing to me, especially around the whole thing with Black Lives Matter and the police and people killing each other, which is insane, is the fact that, and this is the way I was told to look at it, and I agree with it, if anyone takes a life... Self-defense is one thing, but if anyone takes a life, what you are doing is you are quelling someone's spiritual evolution, and that is a sin against the universe. You cannot do things like that. And to do something like that for mundane reasons, all the worse for you. It's just pathetic that this kind of stuff can happen. Man-made laws, and they're just wiping people out. It's just ridiculous. This is the thing we always have to remember. I love talking about this stuff, but in the end, you have to remember, spiritual being, total consciousness, you can't really die as far as your spirit is concerned. Don't let them bog you down with mundane drivel to the point where you forget why you're here, and that is spiritual awakening.
I was just about to say... There's so much noise, and it's intentional.
Yeah.
It's intentional to stop all of us, not just from growing, but also looking and searching for the wheat in the chaff.
Yep, I agree. I just wish that ultimately, and I think a lot of people in all countries say this when it comes to politics and laws and government, we say it would really be a pleasure if you got to choose between two people where no matter who you chose, it would be a benefit to society as opposed to society's detriment. I think that would be an amazing election to be a part of. But this year, that ain't the case.
Beyond
3D.
Welcome back, guys, to this week's edition of Beyond 3D. Continuing on with a little bit of the news out there. This is going to be this is really interesting to me, Clint, because this is talking about something that a lot of people are just still up in the air about. Bad choice of words. They're not up in the air about it, but MH Flight 370, they are now going to abandon the search.
Look at that. It costs money. It costs money to look for this, and who's going to keep footing the bill? Nobody. No government. You know, like Australia chipped in and donated some funds to help with the search for Malaysia.
Right.
China lent a hand to look for this plane, which isn't there.
No, of course it's not there.
It's not there.
Well, folks, we found out one thing as far as the Malaysian government is concerned. If you were on that plane, you are basically worth $189,000.
Is that what the payout is?
Yeah, per person.
Is that all?
That's it.
That's disgusting.
Well, they'll ultimately end up paying more, but that is what they offered.
Wow.
Which is just pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. But this is the thing. You look at what happened to that. It is just an absolutely fascinating story insofar as how can you possibly tell me in this day and age, when you have a satellite in orbit that can see the head of a pin, you can't find a 777 on in an ocean somewhere. I cannot believe that. That's ridiculous.
Well, look, not everybody, but a lot of people on that flight as well had iPhones too, which find my location.
I don't know why they can't. Well, this I do know why they can't, but but now we're getting into the realm of the conspiracy theories. Well, quite frankly, if the thing landed on Diego Garcia and what they did with it after that is another story.
That's exactly what I was going to say to you, is that it is my firm belief that it landed at Diego Garcia, which is...
U.S. military installation in the Indian Ocean.
In the Indian Ocean, but it's off... it's very close to... Is it Mauritius?
Close to, east of Mauritius.
East of Mauritius,
yeah.
Yep. So what a lot of people don't know, or some people do know, some people don't know, maybe they've forgotten, it has been confirmed that a large percentage of the passengers on that plane were scientists, a team of scientists that were developing scalar weapon technology.
Okay, yep.
And when that plane went down, the rights for that scalar technology all reverted back to one individual. Do you remember who that one individual is?
It's the Carlyle Group.
Thank you. Yes, the Carlyle Group. Yes.
And the Carlyle Group is owned by?
Yeah, I've forgotten his name.
Father and son were president.
Bush's.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
And a few other people like Donald Rumsfeld is involved in that as well. So, scalar technology, you have the Bush crime family, as they are called, involved in it. You have...
the Rothschilds. Mr. Rothschild. That's who the bulk of the patent rights went straight back to. One of the most richest, most powerful men in the world.
And there are a lot of Rothschilds out there, as I was so eloquently told this week. Just because the last name is Rothschild or not Rothschild doesn't mean that they are not involved in that family in some way genetically.
Well, there are just like everywhere, there's good people and bad people.
And some of them don't know what's going on, and some of them do. But with this story, it's fascinating insofar as, all right, you have scalar technology, you have intrigue, spies, you have scientists on a plane. The plane has disappeared. The patents for that technology therefore reverted to the one that is still alive, which
Jacob. Jacob Rothschild.
Okay.
He's now the sole owner of the semiconductor patent.
So they've taken care of that aspect of it, and a plane disappears. Now, there was one theory that went through. I don't know how much weight it has, but allegedly the plane landed at Diego Garcia. People were offloaded. The plane then took off again. They might not have been offloaded, actually. They might have been gassed. And the plane took off again and decided to end up in the Netherlands and turned into MH17.
It's like when cars get stolen and then they get stripped down, resprayed, rebadged. Yeah. The vehicle engine numbers get swapped over and it goes back out onto the market again.
And if you notice, there were some people that died in MH17, obviously, including one local from our area here. That was a teacher up at Turak College. Aside from that, you didn't really hear the names of all of the passengers on that plane, and they were actually saying that some of the bodies that were found were actually bodies that could have been from MH370 when it crashed in the Ukraine, and we will never hear anything more about it, but that is one way to get rid of the evidence in a sense. So, fascinating story, but the search for MH370 is coming to an end, and it will remain a mystery for an extremely long time.
Watch this space.
Indeed.
Beyond 3D.
Welcome back this week, everyone, to another episode of Beyond 3D, Matt.
Ah, yes.
Sorry.
I'm looking at a few things over the internet here. Don't mind me, guys.
Max Spiers died this week. And I'm not saying that as in laughing. I'm just shaking my head. In the rabbit hole gets deeper and wider all the time. Max Spiers, Miles Johnson, who runs Bases of the Barge UFO talks in England, interviewed Max Spiers many times. Max's brief backstory on Max Spiers: he was a super soldier.
Okay.
He was subjected to MK Ultra. He was a UFO researcher.
Yep.
And a whistleblower. And he mysteriously died during the week after being very vocal for quite some time now about what he thought was going on. And both the doctor who examined Max and the police, when they came to the villa where he died, left the body there.
Why?
Yeah, exactly. What kind of officials do that?
That's odd.
Yeah.
That's quite odd. Super soldier. That's really odd.
So, Miles Johnson has come out this week. Look, Max Spiers wasn't overly well liked in the UFO community in England. There were a lot of people who said he was full of sugar, honey, ice and tea.
Gotcha.
But people like Kerry Cassidy and Miles Johnson, who have over the years interviewed him many times, truly believe that what he experienced is what he really did experience. And anyone who wants to research MK Ultra, that is really messing with a human being. Take an egg, smash it with a hammer, and that's pretty much what MK Ultra does to the human brain. So for this guy to pull himself back from the brink like he did, and to openly come out as a whistleblower and go, look, I am a victim of MK Ultra. I was a soldier in the British, I think it was British Army that he was a soldier in. He was recruited for the Super Soldier program.
Yes.
And then he was institutionalized and brought into the MK Ultra program, and for many years he was a puppet. And then he broke free, managed to actually get on top of that and break free from that programming. And he did the UFO convention circuit in the United Kingdom quite regularly. And like I said, Kerry Cassidy from Project Camelot and Miles Johnson both interviewed him many times. And they all believed that he was a true victim of those kind of sinister government programs. And he mysteriously died this week.
You wonder. It really does make you wonder.
And he wasn't an old man either. He was only, I would have said, somewhere between 30 and 40.
Anything is possible. Maybe do a little more research and look into that, because there's a lot of people that have been through those training programs, experimental programs, where they just literally fry your brain and rebuild it in their own image, or the image that they want. A lot of people like that, once they do come out, as you said, and can blow the whistle on these different organizations, they do sometimes meet quite devious ends, as do microbiologists and things like that, that all of a sudden, if you look at the amount of guys like that disappear as well, or die under mysterious circumstances. So I know there are a few other people out there in that circuit that have been through similar training programs. I think there was a woman named, President Eisenhower's granddaughter? Laura Eisenhower, I believe her name is. I know she's on YouTube and things like that. She went through a similar kind of training program where she was indoctrinated into certain secret societies, and all of a sudden was told about bases on Mars and going to places like this and taking part in programs. And it was almost like something out of James Bond, the Moonraker, where they pair up men and women, they put them in a rocket and then send them off and set up new societies and things along those lines. These kind of programs are quite interesting as far as I'm concerned, but I think that if you really look into it, we're right at that edge, Clint. I think that we're at the point now with everything going on, UFO researching, people looking up at the sky and starting to notice certain things, orbs of light, which actually can be living organisms flying all around the place. They're now talking about the fact that you have portals opening up above the Earth and different ships, for lack of a better term, transiting through these portals, which is how they can travel from one place to another, and go beyond the fact that the nearest star is 4 light years away and can take a bucket load of time at the speed of light. A lot of this stuff is starting to come out. Moreover, a lot of the technology that is out now with computers and with cameras and things along those lines that can look at infrared and many different light spectrums are picking up a lot more of this stuff as well.
We've been talking about that for the last 12 months, though.
Yeah, but the fact is people are starting to see it. More people are starting to see it. More people are coming out and telling their experiences, and that leads to more people telling their experiences. So it's interesting stuff. But I just know from back in the United States how at the university level they would put people into universities and they would take certain schools, and a lot of the times the teachers were acting as minders actually. They were on the lookout for people with certain makeups, and they could psychometrically test them and find out what was going on, and all of a sudden they're indoctrinated into these different programs, and before you know it, they're...
And when you say makeup, you're not talking about somebody who might be the smartest person in the room. The most interesting people are those that are flawed.
Because a flaw, as far as programs like this, is an in.
That's right. So when I say flawed, it could be anything from somebody who suffered an atrocious childhood of domestic violence, and that kind of makeup that's in their psyche could be perfect for an MK Ultra program, or one of those MK Ultra programs, which could be for political assassination, it could be for intel gathering. The list is endless.
And this is what they look for. And yes, as you're right, it's not about smarts. It's not the smartest. It's not the smartest tack in the box. It's about baggage. How they can get in.
Baggage. Yeah. What kind of baggage have you got?
And how can we manipulate that to the point where we can control you?
Exactly.
So fascinating. Do a little bit more research on that and see if we can come up with some more information over the next weeks about what was going on. Autopsies and things like that would have to happen. And no autopsy.
No autopsies.
Oh, they pulled a Scalia on him, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing, but not surprising.
Beyond,
Hey, did you manage to... I saw a really, really cool... No, actually, it's not cool. There's nothing cool about it. There's nothing cool about it. I don't know how I missed it, but I saw the clip this week of Buzz Aldrin punching someone in the face that was harassing him as he was going up a flight of stairs into a building.
I wouldn't blame him because I know what the guy would have said to him.
Oh, he just said to him, you're a liar, you never went to the moon, and he couldn't even get his next words out. Buzz just reaches across and pops him straight in the face.
Well, it's an insult to him as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like last week we talked about, we played that clip.
Yes.
Actually, no, it wasn't last week. It was the week before.
Yeah.
When was who had interviewed Buzz's childhood friend and said that
That's right, yeah.
how angry he was when he got to the moon and found what was waiting for him there. So for him to carry that around for years and years and years and to be confronted with some upstart who gets into his personal space
and
starts yelling abuse at him and calling him a liar, this person would have been probably about in their mid-30s to 40s and watching Buzz Aldrin lean across and just deck him in the face. It was like all those decades of pent-up frustration just came out in one big swing.
Well, to me, it would mean...
I don't promote violence. I'm not a violent person.
But think about, all that you've been through. You go through that training. You go there. You get confronted with what you get confronted with. It totally shatters your whole reality of Earth, of the universe, of everything that is going on. And after going through all of that, coming back, not allowed to say anything about it, some schmuck comes up to you and basically says you didn't do it, you didn't go there, and is trying to goad you, you'd knock him out too.
I reckon that probably wasn't the first time that had ever happened to Buzz. It's probably the 100,000th time that somebody had yelled at him, "You're a liar, you never went to the moon."
I would say that's probably right. Yeah, he's 86 now.
But I reckon he just went, you know what? I'm not long for this world much longer, and I'm not taking this crap anymore.
Yeah, well, hopefully he'll actually come out and say something before he does leave the world. And he was actually down here last year in Melbourne. They did an expose or a thing at Town Hall in Melbourne with him down there. And quite frankly, look, I, as a kid, watched those missions from 1969 through to 72. I thoroughly was into the Apollo missions. I watched them on television.
Gemini 12.
I don't remember the Gemini ones. I remember Apollo 11, and the reason I remember Apollo 11 was because my Hot Wheels car, the Boss Hoss came in. It was a silver Hot Wheels car that I had ordered, mail order, and it finally came, and I was opening the package to look at this beautiful silver car, and they were heading up to the moon at the same time, which is what sticks in my mind. And you see human ingenuity at its finest, per se, and then you get some guy to come up to you and say it really didn't happen. You get the flat earthers coming out and saying that, this is not even a sphere. You get people saying that you can't get past the radiation belt and everything about going into space is false. And you just go, what?
Hang on a minute. Such a big sigh. I'd love you and I to get a flat earther in here to sit down and let them talk about their philosophy behind the flat earth theory, because as we know, anything that's aerodynamic has to work in nature with natural forces that prevail against it. Okay, so if something's to be streamlined, usually it has no protruding corners or anything sticking out of it. True?
I'd say
yeah, smooth round.
Smooth.
So therefore, if a planet is moving through the universe at a great speed, it has to be aerodynamically sound to a degree. Unless it's like a rocky, lumpy asteroid that's spinning hopelessly.
Right. So
I'd like a flat earther to explain to me how a flat earth navigates its way through the universe.
We'll have to look for one to see if we can get one to come into the studios and talk with us.
They couldn't possibly say that it doesn't. Otherwise, if it doesn't, therefore you wouldn't have seasons.
Valid point.
I'd just like somebody to... If anybody wants to jump on our Facebook page tonight, Beyond3-D, and even flat earthers, go for it. I'd love a flat earther to try and convince me. I'd love any flat earther to do their best to convince me.
I think I've said it before. Why can't you just get on a plane, take off right around the equator, somewhere around Bolivia or something like that, flying 270 degrees due west, and see whether or not, if you keep going in that direction, you come back to the point you started at?
Well, either that, or if you were part of a flat Earth society and you drilled down into the ground, to the Earth's mantle, what happens? Do you just pop out the other side?
Don't know. They used to do that in Bugs Bunny, but but this is the whole thing with the whole premise.
Logic. I just want logic.
Well, with the whole premise of the thing, it makes no sense to me. How could a compass work? How would anything like that work? What about the polar shifts and everything like this?
They're entitled to their opinion.
Drop off into what?
They're entitled to... A flat earther is entitled to their opinion.
Well, let's send them all to Niagara Falls and then they can prove their point.
But give me logic with it.
Yeah, well, we'll see what we can come up with, but just our luck, they go to Niagara Falls, Iguazu, or Victoria Falls, and they fall off it, and they go, "You see, I told you so." But no, it's in my opinion, I don't know. They need something to talk about in that regard. I believe personally that, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, we went to the moon. I think they've gone to Mars. I think they've seen a lot more than they're letting everybody know about.
Dear flat earthers, please explain to me how water stays on your flat earth and doesn't pour off the sides.
Now they're going to say there are indentations in it, so it's not quite flat. It could be a concave kind of a thing. They're going to come up with something. Why do we even bother? Darn well they're going to come up with some reason to say this is what's going on. But it would be very nice. I think we'll work on that. There's got to be somebody out there we can give a call to, and they can give us their theory of the flat Earth.
I think a flat Earth is real, and it is possible in a 2-dimensional world. Not a 3-dimensional world.
Have to think about that.
You're doing a lot of thinking tonight, aren't you?
Well, 2-dimensional worlds and infinite 1-dimensional universes. 3-dimensional world, infinite 2-dimensional universes. Interesting.
Beyond 3.
Welcome back, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure presenting Beyond 3D to you this week. We have a great amount of guests coming up in the next couple of weeks, so definitely tune in and stay with us for that. A lot coming up, a lot of great information. We're going to be talking about education. We're going to be talking about the movies. We're going to be talking about philosophy and spirituality as well. We will be covering what's going on because in the next few weeks we would know more about what's going on with the Juno probe up and around Jupiter. So there's a lot coming up, a lot to discuss, and we're looking forward to bringing that to you. So it's been a pleasure spending time with you, Clint. Have a great week coming up. You guys do the same thing out there.
And if anybody's got a cure to get the Savage Garden song, I Want You, out of my head, please let me know.
Gotta get another song in there. That's catchier.
What are they called? Earworms?
What?
Earworms.
No, don't know that one.
No, hang on. Yeah, earworm. An earworm is a song that you can't get out of your head.
Oh, that's just a song you can't get out of your head as far as I'm concerned.
I've got a couple of earworm songs that pop back into my head probably on average once every 8 years.
Okay, let's not talk about them because I don't want them sticking around my head as well.
Me either.
Take care, guys. We'll catch you next week for another edition of Beyond 3D.
Good night.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice. Tumbling down the rabbit hole. You can say that. I can see it in your eyes. You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he is expecting to wake up. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about? The Matrix. Do you want to know what it is? The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.